some review. On Tuesday, we talked about a very important concept called table of values. Almost sounds like a game show. Table of values. Some people also call it a T-chart. Because it looks like that. And a table of values is a list of points on the graph of some equation. We talked about the fact that graph is a visual model. We can see a picture of a graph and it gives us information. An equation is an algebraic model. It provides us with information that the graph cannot provide. So both are necessary. So we looked at things like if we had the equation y equals 3x, and we picked x values, for example, 0 for an x value, and we plugged that x value in for x, and we got y equals 3 times 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So when x is 0, y is 0. That also means that the point 0, 0 is on the graph of this equation. We pick 1, put 1 in for x. We get y equals 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. When x is 1, y is 3 in this equation. That means the point 1, 3 lies on the graph of this equation. -1, because we talked about the fact that we should have some positive points and some negative points, x coordinates, on our graph. So we should be choosing some negative ones as well. So when we put -1 in for x, 3 times -1 is -3. The point 1, -3 is on the graph of this equation. Then we talked about, well, what if we need to use a fractional value for x? We said that we don't just randomly pick any fraction to plug in. We go back and look over here and see what fraction can we use that is going to give us something that's going to divide out. Since the 3 is in front of that x, I'm going to pick 1/3, so that when I put 1/3 in for x, this 3 is 3 over 1. The 3's divide out, and we're left with 1 times 1 over 1 times 1, which is 1. When you put 1/3 in, you get 1. When you put -1/3 in, 3 over 1 times -1/3. 3 divides out, goes in there once, goes in there once. 1 times -1 over 1 is -1. So we talked about how we can create our table of values so that we know some of the points that lie on the line. on your calculator, you should always check your mode. Okay, on your calculator, up here at the top, let's turn it on first, is a button that says mode. When you push that button, there are several things on there that you don't really need to worry about. The first thing is DEG, RAD, GRAD. That has to do with angles. For anything y'all are going to do, you leave it on degree. DEG for degrees. Then NORM, SCI, and ENG. You can set this calculator for scientific mode. You can set it for engineering mode. You can set it for normal mode. 99.999% of the time, you can just leave it right there on normal mode. The next line talks about the number of decimal places. The first choice is float. What that means is it's going to automatically put the decimal places in. It's not going to do any rounding. But if you chose 0, then it's not going to give you any decimal places. It's going to round everything off to the nearest 1 or nearest ones. You hit 1, then it's going to give you 1 decimal place, and everything will be rounded to the tenths. 2, everything will be rounded to the hundredths, etc. The one that is important for us is the last line where you have 2 choices, classic and math print. Classic is just your normal everyday calculator mode. But math print prints, and by prints I mean showing you on the screen, the way we would write on paper. It gives us the option of showing things the way we would see them on paper. For what we are going to be doing today, you can have it on either one. Most people usually leave it on math print, at least for most of what you're going to do. But if you want to change it, or if yours is sitting here blinking on classic instead of on math print, then you can come down to that line, go over to math print, hit enter, and then we can get out of this screen by using the quit. And anything that's in green, you have to hit the green button first, and then mode will take us out and quit. I'm going to show you how I can create this table of values for this equation and not write one bit of this down. So for this first one, I want you to just watch what I'm doing. We will talk about it. We will write the steps. But for right now, I want you to watch. There is a button that says table. I'm going to push that button. It's asking me to enter a function. That is, enter an equation. you can see that it's y equals, ready to go. Y equals what? Well, we have 3x. So I'm going to hit 3, and then you might say, well, where's an x? There is an x right here. This button says x, y, s, t, a, b, c. That's your variable button. So when I hit that, it's going to put this funky looking x in there. Okay, you can see y equals 3x. And then I'm going to hit enter. It's now going to take me to a screen where it's going to ask me a couple of questions. Start means, where do you want the table of values to start at? We typically start it at 0. So I'm going to hit 0, enter. Then it's going to ask us for step. Step means, how many do you jump? When you start at 0, how many do you go to the next x value? Step 1, step equals 1, means the next the x value is going to be 1. And then the next x value is going to be 2. And the next one, 3, then 4, then 5. If I tell it step 5, the first x value is 0, the second x value is 5, the third x value is 10, the fourth x value is 15, so it's jumping 5. So it's taking 5 steps. So that's what that means. Right now we're going to leave it on auto. You'll find out what this means in just a minute. So I'm going to hit enter. It's blinking on auto. I'm going to go to OK. I'm going to hit enter. And look at there. Let's see if I can do this. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 3, 1, 3. And then I can use my arrow keys and go down. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can go back the other way. And there is my -1, -1, -3. Done for me without me doing anything other than putting that equation in. Okay? So we're going to be doing problems like this today. So you are going to need a piece of paper. So I'm just going to have you write these down, because you're not going, there isn't going to be any work to do. I'm going to show you the steps, but the calculator is going to do all the work. So our first one is y equals -3x. So the first step is to hit the table button. Where is it? Right there. The last equation that you put in will still be sitting there. So to clear out anything that's there, you're going to hit the clear button, and it erases. The equal sign should be there by already. You should not, there should be an equal sign. Okay, the equal sign, the y, and the equals should already be there. So it's waiting for you to type in the equation. Now, with this calculator, we cannot put a subtraction sign in for negative. If you use this button right here, you're going to get an incorrect, you're going to get a bad response. On this calculator, the negative is done with this button right here. That indicates we're negative whatever. So I'm going to hit that button. So I'm hitting the negative button. Okay, so you can see we're ready to go. Then we're going to type 3. Then we're going to hit the variable button, X. Then you're going to hit enter. It's going to take you to the screen where we have to do the setup. And it remembers all the previous stuff that we had. And when we scrolled up on that last table of values and looked at the point -1, then it said, oh, okay, you want to start at -1 when we come back into this. So all we do is punch in what we really want. We want 0. We want to start at 0. So I'm going to hit 0. And then enter. So we have 0, enter. For right now, we're going to let it step 1. So I don't need to change it, so I can just hit enter. Hit enter again, so it's down there on top of the OK. And then enter again. So there's our table of values. So when X is 0, Y is 0. When X is 1, Y is -3. When X is 2, Y is -6. Then we need some negative values, so I'm going to come back up here, use my arrow key, and go that way up so that I get the -1 side. So I've got -1, 3. Go up again, -2, 6. And then this is asking for one more point, so we could either do another negative or another positive. It doesn't matter. I'll go up since I'm already here. -3, 9. There's our table of values. Now, if you do not have a calculator, there are a couple of things that you can do. First of all, go get one of these calculators tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you have an Android phone, only an Android phone, Android only. This does not work on Apple. You're just SOL. There is an app called Calc30. You go to your Google store and you hit Calc30. Okay, Calc30. So that's what you would look for in the Google store, Calc30. When you install it, you will get a button that looks like a TI30 calculator. It looks like this. But when you launch it, it's going to ask you, do you want to do the TI30 or do you want to do the TI34? We want the 30, but you will notice that the color scheme is not the same. But the buttons are in the exact same place. Second, mode, delete. They just are using a computer symbol for delete. Your 4 arrows, log, in case you want to build a fire, PRB, data, ln. There's our fraction key, n over d for numerator over denominator. They have it listed as x over y, but that's still a fraction. And so there's our table button. It does do a little bit different in that when you enter, it's going to say, do you want to copy the equation into there, or do you want to enter it? So I choose, whoops, let me go back. I choose the second one here, edit function. And then you can clear out what you have. It writes it a little bit different. It writes it as f parentheses x parentheses. Later on, you'll learn what that means, but that's really saying y equals. Okay. Then there is an online version. It is in Blackboard that I have put the link for you in Blackboard. What did I hit for this? I hit table, just like we do over here. Start with hitting table. But now it asks you, are you going to paste in the equation, or do we want to edit the equation? Function meaning equation. You're going to choose 2. If there's something in there, you clear it out. Just like here, we hit table, we hit clear to clear it out, and we're ready to go with our x equals, or I mean y equals. So the next one, y equals 2x minus 4. Table button. Clear to erase. Then we need to put in this equation. So I'm going to put here 3a, put in equation. 3b, if you have a negative in the front, then you need to use the negative key. So we're going to put in 2x minus 4. 2x minus 4. Then we hit enter down here in the bottom, enter. It takes you to the screen where you need to do the setup. It's asking, where do you want to start? We're going to start at 0. Enter. By how much do you want to increase to go to the next value for x? We want to increase by 1. Enter. It's set for auto. That's what we want right now. Enter. And then when it's sitting there blinking on the OK, hit enter again. And there is our table of values. So we get 0, negative 4, 1, negative 2, 2, 0. Then we need some negatives. Negative 1, negative 6, negative 2, negative 8, and then I'll do one more negative, negative 3, negative 10. All right, let's look at number 3. This time we have a fraction. Well, that's not going to change anything. So we're going to start by hitting table. Step 1, table. We need to clear out the equation that's there, clear button. But this is starting with a fraction. So if I hit the fraction key, n over d, you will see that it gives you what I call the fraction template. The box is blinking in the numerator. We need a 3. Use the arrow key to go down to the numerator. Denominator. Then come out of the fraction. X is our variable. You should have y equals 3/4 x. So this is why it's called math print, is because it looks like the way we would write it. If you are in the other mode, I'm just going to show you, it doesn't affect anything. If I go to mode and I come down here to classic and I change the mode to classic, and then I go into table and I want to enter a function, if I hit that key, it's giving me a slash fraction bar. So I would go back, I'd delete that, and you're going to type in 3 fraction 4, and it knows that's 3/4, and then we would hit X. But I prefer mode, math print, enter, get out by hitting second quit, go back to table, put in my fraction template key, 3/4, come out of the fraction, hit the variable. If you don't come out of the fraction, you're going to end up with an answer that's not correct because you're putting the x in the denominator and it's not in the denominator. Then we hit enter. But here there's going to be a change. We still want to start at 0. But I do not want to put 1 in for x. We talked about making the work easier. What would be the first value? We'll put 0 in, but then what would be the first value we're going to put in for x? Yes. Do we all get it? There we go. Good. Yes. 4. Because we need the denominator of 4. I don't care about that 3 because it's going to be in the numerator, but we got to get rid of this denominator. So I need a multiple of 4. So I need to tell it to step 4 units every time so that I get 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. So I'm going to hit 4, enter. Right now we're going to leave it on auto, enter again to get on OK, and hit enter. And there is all of my work done right there for me. So I have 0, 0. I have 4, 3, 8, 6. Go get some negatives. -4, -3. Go back up again. -8. -3. And then I'll do -12. -9. Yes. I haven't posted any recordings, but if y'all remind me, I will go in and post the recording. We got to where people weren't watching them anymore, and I stopped. But if you want it, let me know, and I will go in and post it. Okay. So there's our table of values. All the work done for us. And all I had to do was know how to put this into my calculator. All right. I want you to put in this one. I want you to put it in, and I want you to get a table of values. and tell me what you get for your, what, 5? Is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's look. I'm going to hit my 21 first. Hit my table button. Clear the equation that's in there. My equation is 2/5, so I'm going to hit the fraction key. Put in 2 over 5. Come out of the fraction. Put my variable x minus 1. Enter. We're going to start at 0. Because the denominator is 5, we're going to step 5. Auto. Okay. Enter. And so we get 0, -1, 5, 1, 10, 3, 15, 5, and then some negatives, -5, -3, and -10, -5. All right. Now, I can't put that in for table, because the only way to put this into the table format is if I have it y equals. So I'm going to have to change this so that it ends up as y equals something. Well, what we're going to do is what we have done a bazillion times for solving equations. Except this time we have 2 variables, and instead of solving for x, we're solving for y. So I want y equals at the bottom. So we look at the variable. There's an understood 1 written in front of that variable, meaning multiplication. Anytime a number is written in front of a variable, it means multiplication. There is a positive 1x. So I have a positive 1x, and I have a positive 1 being multiplied. This positive 1x is being added. That plus sign in front means this whole thing is being added to 1y. We undo addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract 1x and subtract 1x. Well, positive 1x and negative 1x add up to 0. That leaves me with y. We have a 1 and a negative 1x. We always put the variable term first. You'll see why that's so important in about a week. And we typically don't need to write the 1 in front of a variable, so this is negative x plus 1. So we took this equation and we transformed it into this equation that is the same thing, just written in a slightly different form. But this can be put in to our table. So I'm going to hit table, clear, negative, remember the negative key is down here, negative x plus 1. Enter. We're going to start at 0, and because there's no fraction there, we can step 1, enter, 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 and there's our table of values. When x is 0, we get 1. When x is 1, we get 0. When x is 2, we get negative 1. When x is 3, we get negative 2. When x is negative 1, we get 2. And when x is negative 2, we get 3. Number 6. Something a little bit different is happening on number 6. But what we do is exactly the same way. I'm going to rewrite this here so that I have the room to do it underneath. I need at the end y equals. Everything else has got to disappear. I only want the y left over. So we look at that y. There are two things over there with the y. A negative 2, and that negative 2 is written next to the variable. When a number is written next to a variable, it means multiplication. And there is a 1x. That 1x is being added to the negative 2y. It's not being subtracted. The negative 2y is being subtracted from the 1x. The 1x is being added to the negative 2y. I undo this by doing the opposite and subtracting 1x. If I do that on the left, I have to do that on the right. These add out to 0. I'm left with negative 2y equals negative 1x plus 2. Now I have a negative 2 being multiplied by the y. So I need to get rid of that. It's being multiplied. We divide by negative 2. Over here, I have to divide the entire side by negative 2. Everything in the equation has to be divided by negative 2. Well, over here, these divide out, and we're left with y. And then something happens here. We have to go back and pull out something that we learned how to do a long, long time ago. When I had you add fractions, if we're adding 3/4 and 1/5, can we add those fractions together the way they are? Right. Because what do you have to add, what do you have to have in order to add or subtract fractions? Yes, least common denominator. The common denominator for those is 20. To turn this into 20, we would multiply by 5. We do that on the bottom. We have to do that on the top. Turn this into 20. We multiply by 4. If I do that on the bottom, I have to do that on the top. Then, when the denominators are the same, we can add the numbers on the top. And I'm going to write it separate like that for a minute and then do that. Now, because this is 19 over 20, we know that we had to add some numbers together to get this 19. So I could work backwards and say, all right, 19 over 20 is exactly the same as 18 plus 1 over 20. Or 17 plus 2 over 20. So long as these two things are going to add up to 19, and I'm adding the two things together, and the bottom doesn't change, we're good. Well, to get to this, we had two separate fractions that had the same denominator with the numbers on top that we're adding. So this could be written as 17 over 20 plus 2 over 20. I can split that back up into the two fractions that we use to add together to get the one fraction. I've just used two different numbers, but as long as they add up to 19, we're good. So that can be pulled out into two separate fractions. That's exactly what we're going to do right here. Because on the top, I have something plus something all over -2. I can take and put the first stuff over -2 plus the second thing over -2. All I did was bust that fraction up into two fractions. We've done it a million times where the two fractions we put together. We went from here to here. Now we're just going backwards. These can be simplified. This is 1x over 2 because a negative over negative is a positive. This is plus 2 over -2 is -1. Then we need to remember something else about what this means. We did this before when we said that we had a variable on top of a fraction. This means 3 times x over 4, which means that we can pull the fraction part out, which means the variable can be written next to the fraction bar. This, and this are the same thing. So I'm going to take this x and move it out to the side of the fraction bar, like we have here. 1/2 x, and then plus minus 1 is -1. There is our rewritten in a different form equation. This equation and this equation are exactly the same thing. It's just this equation is solved for y. This equation has our x and y on the same side. We can't use this in our calculator. We have to convert it to this. So then we would do our table. Hold this so I can let you see what I'm doing too. We've got table, so I'm going to clear out the equation that's there. I have a fraction, so I'm going to hit the fraction key. 1 over 2, come out of the fraction, variable x minus 1. Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Enter. We're going to start at 0. We're going to step 2 because we have a fraction and we want this fraction to disappear. Step 2, auto, OK, enter. 0, 2, 4 are our x values there. So here it asked us to use, hold this where y'all can see me through that light that's there. Let's see if this will help. Okay, so at 0 we have -1. At 2 we have 0. At 4 we have 1. And at 6, okay, see that? 6, we have 2. And then I need to go back and get my negative values. We need -2. So -2, y is -2, and -4, or y is -3. There's our table of values. So yes, we had to take the fraction and break it into two pieces, instead of what you're normally used to doing, taking the two pieces once we got the common denominator and putting them together. We're just going the other way and pulling them apart. All right, I want you to do just the setup, change this equation into y equals. Change that equation into y equals. All right, let's take a look. We have y. There is a -4 written in front of that variable. It means multiplication. There is a 1 in front of that x. That x has a +1 in front of it. That means that 1x is being added to -4y. It's not being subtracted, it's being added. The sign in the front tells us what is happening. So I need to get rid of the stuff that's being added or subtracted first. So I'm going to subtract 1x and subtract 1x. These add up to 0. That leaves -4y equals, we put the x term first, -8. Then to get y by itself, we are multiplying by -4. So I'm going to divide this side by -4 and this entire side by -4. The -4's divide out, we're left with y. Here, we need to break apart the two fractions. So this is -1x over -4 plus this is -8 over -4. This fraction and this fraction. This can reduce to +1x over 4 plus -8 divided by -4 is +2. This can be rewritten so that it is a fraction in front of a variable plus 2. Then to put that into our calculator, table, clear, fraction, 1/4 x plus 2, enter, start at 0. We're going to step 4, enter, enter, enter. So our table of values would be what? 0, 2, 4, 3, 8, 4, 12, 5. Get some negatives. -4, -8. Coming to -4, 1. Sorry, -4, 1, and -8, 0. So there's our table of values. No different. It's already set equal to y, so we're good. So I'm going to hit table. I'm going to clear out the equation. I need my x, and it needs to be squared. So you still have to put the variable key and then say that you are squaring that variable plus 1. Enter. We'll start at 0. We can step 1. And our table of values then is 0, 1. 1, 2. 2, 5. 3, 10. Go get a negative. Negative 1, 2, and negative 2, 5. Y equals x cubed. Table. Clear. Variable. Okay, and then we need to cube. So we're going to have to use the caret key. 3. Enter, because there's nothing being added or subtracted. We'll start at 0. And then just to do something different, let's step 4. Just to pick something different. Enter, enter, enter. And so 0, 0, 4, 64, 8, 5, 12. Got one more, 12, 1,728, negative 4, negative 64, and negative 8, negative 5, 12. The caret key is the up arrow. So that is your exponent key when it's something other than squared. So you have a key for stuff being squared, but the up arrow ends up allows you to raise stuff to other powers. So, and we call it the caret. Okay. All right. I want you to do this one. And then we're going to be talking about something very important. So it's this one right here, 2x plus 3y equals negative 3. So I want you to set up the equation and then do the table of values. Set up the equation properly, do the table of values. There is that problem worked. You're making this way too hard. Here's why this is so important. You're not always going to be asked to just find some simple table of values. They may ask you if x equals well, are you going to sit there and go through until you get to 3,215, even if that may not even be a multiple of 3? So you're just going to keep going? No. Let me go back to table. Equation stays the same. Enter. Start at 0. Step 1. But this time, instead of auto, I'm going to go over here to ask x. Enter. Enter again to go down to OK. And then when I hit enter, it's going to give me sort of a table of values where I can be recording some values. But if I hit enter, it's going to jump down there to the bottom and it says x equals. Well, then here I can punch in a value for x. I'm going to punch in 3215, enter. And I get negative 2144.3333. So if you were wondering what that ask x means, if I have some very large value or very small value, it could have been negative, 7,300. I don't want to have to sit there on the table of values and keep moving up, or down, 3,215 times so that I can find out what the y value is. So the table, enter, your start value, your step, and instead of auto, you're setting it for ask x. Enter, enter. And then to get down there to the x part where you can put another value in, and then I will clear that out, and maybe I want, we said negative 7,300. And so they rounded it to negative 2,999, and we get 4865.
This has been a production of DNJDesigns and Mathman1962. If you like this video, click on the thumbs up. If you want to be notified when new videos are posted, click the bell. And if you want to see more videos like this one, click on the subscribe button.